stats, right? And like women will be like, oh, you just don't like Idris because he's fine. No, I don't really care about that. Like, I'm really just too deep into this television show.
He was just grimy.
Yeah. He was grimy.
Yeah.
He was real grimy.
Yo, listen, let's go to a break, man. Internet, you tune into the Combat Jack Show, thecombatjackshow.com. We got Bomani Jones in the building. F your podcast, F your TV show, and F your radio show, except for your podcast.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Cheer.
Yo, you know what it is, man. It's your boy Young right here chilling with the homie, man. Comeback Jack. Y'all know what it is, man. Internet's turn up. Y'all know what we do. Let's get it. Check in. Let's go.
Internet, you tuned into the Combat Jack Show, thecombatjackshow.com. We're sitting with our guest, Bomani Jones.
Yes, sir.
Bomani, man, what brings you to New York in November, man?
All right, so on November the 5th, there is a premiere for a 30 for 30 entitled Rand University, and we're taking a look at a brief snippet in the life of Randy Moss, and I am an executive producer on that project.
Oh.
So we're up here and go check out the premiere tomorrow. Well, I guess tomorrow as we record it. I'm going to do a little question and answer and all of that stuff, so that should be interesting.
Okay. Now, how'd you get involved with this?
So there's a couple things that happened.
Congratulations, by the way, man.
I appreciate it. This is during the NBA Finals. I was talking to my agent, and he wanted me to meet with a guy named Connor Shell at ESPN, who's over the 30 for 30s. And I'd been supposed to meet Connor for the longest. And so my agent tells me before I meet him, he says, look, they're working on a 30 for 30 with Randy Moss. And I light up. And the reason I lit up was in 2008, late 07, beginning 08, I was trying to move up to New York, actually, because I was engaged to a woman who lived here. And I needed to be able to move here, but also needed to be able to eat if I did move here. Right. So my strategy was I'm going to write a book proposal, and I'm going to sell this proposal, and I'm going to get the advance, and then that's going to get everything going. And that book proposal I was working on was going to be a look at the evolution of the modern wide receiver and kind of focused around Randy Moss. So I asked about what the time frame on the documentary was going to be, and they said from when he was in high school until the 1998 NFL draft. That was the time period that I had written this sample book chapter on.
Crazy.
Right. So I literally, this has been a fascination of mine for years, and I'd worked on it, and I'd had the project, and I kept the project. I didn't eventually try to sell it. I broke up with the woman, so that didn't go through. But I always had it, and I always kept all the research. Like I had all the things that I needed. And it just so happened that they were working on that project, and they asked me to come on board as a producer to kind of help guide the project.
And you had all this material.
I had all the stuff.
Right. Like
I had all of it. So when I talked to the director, Marquise Daisy, I was like, well, look, here's what I've written about it. And so I could send him these 30 pages, and he could look at it. And then when they started sending me clips and stuff that we're looking at, I already had the frame of reference of all the material. Like I'd done the research. I knew the story. I knew the stuff that wasn't there. So I could ask the questions. Well, why aren't we mentioning this part? How are we going to bring this in? What do you think about this? So it just happened to be a really great bounce. And the dude who's directed the film did a fantastic job on it. Like he did the real work, to be honest.
Isn't it amazing, man? When you really put your heart and soul into something and you create something and it doesn't necessarily work the way you thought it was going to work, that product that you created, it doesn't go to waste.
Right. The work that you do on stuff like that has always got to be about the process, and it's always got to be kind of for you, right? Because once you do it, it's out of your hands, and maybe somebody gets on it, maybe they don't, who knows? But if what you did is something that you legitimately think is a work of quality, then you might as well keep it. Like that chapter still needs work. Like it wasn't ready to publish. I was going to have to do all the edits and all that stuff that you did over time.
But it was there.
It was there.
Exists.
Right. And I put about a good couple of months where that was the thing that I did. Like that was I remember going to Office Depot and buying a binder and buying dividers, like all the stuff like I was back in high school because that was the project. And I had this ridiculous binder full of LexisNexis printouts where I took somebody's LexisNexis password and printed out all this
still
stuff.
Around?
Oh yeah, still going. I wish I had a password now. As a matter of fact, because you know the game. It was all like, who's got a password? You got a password? All right, cool. Everybody's working off the same password. So I may or may not have used the password of an employer who had fired me but didn't change the password.
May have
allegedly, right? And I went ahead and I printed all that stuff out, so I had it all. So I was literally ready to jump in. So during the finals, I talked to Connor. He told me that was the time frame they were working on. They asked me to come on and to work on it, and I would argue that I've had a part in this. I think Marquise did most of the real work. He did the going down to West Virginia and shooting all of that stuff. But I was able from there to say, okay, well, I think we need to bring this idea in. I think we need to make the draft feel like make that resonate a little bit more. How do we go about doing those sorts of things? Because I don't know how to make a documentary,
Right.
you know?
Of course.
But now I'm learning how to make a documentary, you know?
And yeah, executive producer.
Hey, man, it sounds great if nothing else.
You know, listen, Bomani, it's amazing, man, because I've watched your journey. We've all watched your journey, man. And you're definitely very inspiring and inspiration to us.
I appreciate it.
Were there points during this journey where you like, could not make it, I need to get a job?
The time that I thought I was going to have to get a job really was after that ESPN contract wasn't renewed in 2007. Mm-hmm. And the reason was I had a job as a national columnist at ESPN.com working for Page 2. But I'd skipped all the intermediate steps that most people had. I never covered a beat. I never did any of that kind of work, which was to say I didn't think anybody else, if I couldn't make it work at that job this one time, I didn't think anybody else was going to give me a job writing again. And I thought that I was going to be a columnist really for the rest of my life. Right. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be. And then I wound up getting into radio. Like, while I was working on the proposal and all of that stuff, I got into radio. And radio, that's when I found, like, okay, this is a thing that I should be doing, and that kind of.
And I used to love your show, man. I used to call into the show.
I remember. I loved it, man. Like, that was like, and this was I was doing local, because like I was doing local on Saturday mornings. Right, they were paying me $100 a Saturday to come up, and it was me. I was 27 at the time. My producer was a black dude who was 26. And Saturday morning, your bosses don't pay any attention to what you're doing, right? So we were just up there doing the show we wanted to do. But I had come after working for ESPN. I was approaching this with like, this is the kind of standard that we got to have. Like, just because I'm not working for them doesn't mean that we can't put out that quality of work, right? And so we really pushed and we really made that better. And then I'd got a midday show, and the midday show got going, and then they fired me. And that was one where I was like, okay, I feel like y'all have done me dirty. Like, my ratings are great, and the station got sold. The new place just decided they didn't want my voice on their radio station. And when that happened, I was like, what in the world is going to happen? And then I got good pretty quick on that. But when the contract ended with the writing, I didn't know what in the world I was going to do at that point, because I thought I'd made it when I got that job. Mm-hmm. And then that job was gone. And it was like, well, what in the world are we going to do? So the guy at the local radio station, I remember I told him I was real sad. I was like, look, man, they let me go, whatever it was. And his response to me was, so does this mean you can do radio now? Like, he had completely discarded that. He was like, oh, okay, cool. So you can do radio now? Yeah. All right, cool. And then he calls me and says, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you the Saturday show, and then the guy that does the afternoon drive doesn't work summers. My plan is for you to host that show during the summer. And then once that got going, and at the end of that summer, I didn't know what I was going to do because I needed a job, like a real job. I had done an adjunct professorship to pay some bills, but I needed a job. And then they told me they were going to give me a job doing the middays. And like, once that came together, and first day was on my birthday, oddly enough. And then that went.
When was your birthday?
August 26th.
Okay.
And August 26th, 2008 was when we first started doing that. But when that column went away, I had been winging it for so long anyway. I'd written about music, and then that went away, and then I'd stumbled into sports, and then I was just like, well, what in the world am I going to, like, am I going to have to go get a job?
Right.
And then after the local radio thing ended, I made the decision that if I had to go get a job, I was going to get a job. I was going to find somewhere in Durham to sell cell phones, and I was going to be like, look.
That's what you're going to do, man?
If I had, look. Come buy your cell phone from Bomani Jones. There'd be some people who would have clowned, and there would have been a whole lot of people who would have loved nothing more than to come get a cell phone from me.
Bomani Mobile?
That's right. Dude, they would have done it. And
Boost Mobile.
Yeah, and if that would have worked, then that was what it was. Like, if you got to pay, and then I could try to figure this stuff out on the side, but I didn't know how to get in to and where the places were going, and then the industry started to expand, and then these new media companies started getting more money, and they're the people that always fuck with me from the begin with, right? So then we started getting into that, and then everything went okay. But after a certain point, man, I'd been knocked down enough times along the way that it was like, okay, well, I'm going to be all right.
Can be all right.
Like, no matter what happens, I'm going to be all right. I didn't think it was going to turn into what it has turned into.
You never know.
But I was going to be all right.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah. You've been talking a lot about music recently, man.
Yeah, man.
On your show and on Twitter, man. What have you been listening to?
All right. I'm shocked. Like, the last 3 albums I've decided to explore are all great. Like, forget about just good. So, the Run the Jewels 2, which is the best record of the year.
What?
The Run of the Jewels 2 is incredible. Like
Crazy production wise.
wise.
They've lost their fucking minds. Killer Mike and LP.
Well,
they lost their fucking minds this time.
Think about this. Could you imagine if in 1998 somebody would told you, LP going to start doing beats for this dude from Adamsville in Atlanta and they about to rip it. You never would have been. Company Flow?
First and foremost, I didn't fuck with Company Flow.
I didn't either.
Because I was in the industry and I was like, why are these white rappers so mad? Like, why y'all so mad?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Killer Mike, he was just that dude in the whole Outkast movement. I was like, okay, you got a little flow, but all right.
You know what he needed? And I think it's what I realized in listening to this. Killer Mike is so talented that you just like, we got to make this dude a solo act. And that it's not going to work.
Right.
Like, it's not that it's bad, because like the rap music joint was good and the grind time tapes are straight, but he's a dude that needed somebody else to give you a break and they could bounce back and forth. And their chemistry is unreal.
LP is super talented to the point that just him by himself, it's like you're rapping too crazy right now.
Right. Most definitely. And the thing about Killer Mike too also is that like he's a chameleon. Like he could adapt to any situation. Yes. Like he's just really smart, talented, and a true chameleon.
And he's born to rap. Like there's some people who are really good at rap, and there's some people who are born to rap. Like KRS-One is born to rap.
Yes.
Killer Mike is in the KRS-One family of rappers in the sense that you understand every single word he's saying.
So you give
clear.
Run the Jewels 2 album of the year.
So far.
I'm not arguing with you.
Yeah, so far.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know the last time I had a record that every morning I've gotten up and I've been like, okay, now we got to turn this on. And no, we're not turning it off.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
41 minutes of bang.
What else?
The Kid Logic. I heard people talk about him, right? And
what is the kid, white or black, man?
I actually had that conversation with somebody today because I said that this white dude has put out the blackest white dude rap album of all time, and I was told that he's biracial.
He's saying nigga on the record.
They say he's biracial.
Okay.
They say he's biracial.
He got that little brain. He look Italian, Pete. You seen him?
Forget about it.
He looks Sicilian, man. But okay, I love
rap
that.
his ass off though.
No.
The one thing it's not his fault. I don't want to say it's something I don't like about his record, but he's got one of those records that you listen to and be like, man, I wish you'd have been around for analog,
right?
Because it's a real digital sounding album that sounds real sterile.
Yeah.
But like that last J. Cole album that came out, I felt the same way. Where I was like, yo, this is good, but this is not a digital record. Like this is an analog record. It needs that warm feel of analog, and I felt kind of like that with Logic. But he could rap his ass off. I was shocked.
You know what it is? I don't even think because a lot of people could rap their asses off right now, and it's fucked up that in 2014, I'm not necessarily impressed if you could rap your ass off. He put some good songs.
Exactly. That's the key thing to me.
Good
super
songs.
rappers get on my nerves.
Yes.
And he's not a super rapper.
He's got some good songs that got some good feeling and some good depth. And you're right. If it was definitely a little bit more lo-fi, you could definitely feel it.
Right. Yeah. Because like the snares are clean and stuff like that. Like that's just me being anal and old. Right. But I listened to it today because the first time I tried to find that Logic record, I found some other dude named Logic. And I really told people, I was like, I don't think I got the same Logic record.
If this is the Logic you're talking about, this ain't it.
From the H?
Yeah, exactly.
From the H?
And little did I know, I actually did have the raw record. That's why you got to be careful. I was like, this must be the wrong Logic. And it really was.
Yeah. And then what else, man?
So I caught the Crit on NPR. Welcome to 2014, by the way, where the Big Crit record is available for stream on NPR. And it's like, okay, this is the Crit album that we've been waiting for. Because you've been with me for a while. I've been on the Crit wagon from the very beginning. He was working with my man Wally Sparks. So,
shout out to Wally.
Know him, know son, kicked it with him a few times. This is the record that we've been waiting on. Like, this is a big, major, like, it sounds like you had a major label budget. It sounds like what my understanding has been that he started recording in a different place, that there was a long run of doing the recording in the same place, which would explain a lot of the complaints that we have about Live from the Underground, at points feeling kind of stale and feeling like it hadn't gone somewhere new.
I had so much high expectations from Live from the Underground.
Right.
And it just felt hollow to me.
Yeah.
And it was weird because if I would have put my money on somebody that I really wanted to win, it was Crit.
Right.
Man.
That was how I felt. And I liked it. I thought it was a really good record.
Right.
I just didn't think it was as good. It didn't have the fire that like Crit Was Here had. It just had that kind of emotion.
He's claiming king of the South right now.
But let me tell you though, all the kind of fire and passion that I thought wasn't on Live from the Underground, like the thing I thought was missing from Live from the Underground was actually Crit. Right. Like I thought the beats were good and I thought it was pretty well A&R'd and all of that stuff. But the dude and the underlying qualities that were in the previous records, I didn't feel were on Live from the Underground. Oh, they're on Catalactica. They are there. And so what I always thought he was doing was he had done a modern refinement of kind of that Gulf Coast paradigm of sound, right? But it didn't feel like a Live from the Underground that he expanded it. It's like he refined what he was doing, but he didn't take it to another place. The Cadillactica, you hear the expansion. And it really puts into something about Mississippi that one of my boys told me. He was from Jackson. He's like, the thing you got to remember about Mississippi is we're in driving distance of all the major centers of Southern music.
Right.
You know, we're right up the road from Memphis. You can get to Houston without much trouble. You can get to Atlanta without much trouble. So Mississippi, we just don't think of as a place for rap. But that really is kind of the midpoint of all these different